but it is my distinct honor to introduce Alan, Coach Pesner. For most people that went tonight, many people in this room, it's kind of hard to picture McAllen Field without Pez. I have roaming, but more like pacing up and down the sideline. And it's even harder to think of the press box and imagine and hear anyone else other than Pez's voice. He was an absolute staple on that field as both a coach and an announcer. When Pez retired from his coaching career, he was the winningest coach in New York State history for girls lacrosse. He was the first recipient in Nyack School's history of the prestigious Coach Ralph Cordisco Award, who everyone in this room knows. And he was a pioneer and an advocate in Nyack, in Section 1 and beyond for girls' sports. And that, I think, is probably one of the things that Pez is most proud of. So, one of the hardest things that I had to do preparing for this day was plagiarizing Pez's bio from the Nyack Hall of Fame Journal. Jamie Kempton, we need you to come off a strike and come back so you can write the bios. But that's not what was hard. Plagiarizing was easy. Part of his bio, Pez got in the Nyack Hall of Fame in 2018, and part of his bio mentions two athletes that he coached that were already in the Nyack Hall of Fame. So Allison Chambers Rowling, class of 2017, and Stacy Sennis McGowan, class of 2015. So when Pez got into the Hall of Fame, they were already in. And Stacy's mother, Fran Sennis, is here today. And Fran was a girls lacrosse and a girls field hockey coach for 35 years. And her career basically paralleled Pez's career. And everyone knows Pez is a girls lacrosse coach, but he's also the girls field hockey coach. And originally they were sitting much closer to each other, and I was going to talk about the fact that they can sit near each other and be amicable is quite the accomplishment. But we would all know if they did not have a deep admiration and respect for each other. So I think that is a good sign of Pez's diplomacy skills out on the field. Very impressive career for both of them. So what was hard about this is, so Pez got into the Hall of Fame in 2018, and so I knew more people that played under him that he coached had gotten into the Hall of Fame since then, and that actually number is fivefold, and there's now 10 people in the Hall of Fame that Pez coached. So it took a long time to research that, make sure I wasn't missing anyone. And it's no small coincidence that one of them is here, Liz Gilroy Gould, class of 2019. So I want to briefly talk about Pez, the educator. Now, many people that grew up and went to Nyack first learned how to catch by deploying Pez's window. So Pez's window was just like this. And when the football, you could use this in different sports, but mainly football, when the football comes and breaks Pez's window, you catch the ball. And it was a very simple way to teach people how to catch. Now, by the time I learned about Pez's window, I knew how to catch, and most of us knew how to catch. So what would really happen is when one of our friends would drop a ball, we go, oh, you should have used Pez's window, you would have caught that ball. So, but many youths learned how to catch from Pez's window. I don't know if Pez is going to share his the greatest challenges he overcame as an educator. And I don't know what his greatest challenge was, but I can tell you what one of them was this person, about 16 inches shorter, potentially 30 pounds heavier, on the high balance beam, and Pez telling me to do a round-off dismount off the high balance beam. Now, spry is not a word that I've heard used over the years when referring to me. So, and I was pretty much petrified, couldn't move. Somehow did manage to dismount with a round off, and I'm sure the only thing round about it was me. But I don't think that we list that as Pez's greatest achievement. I mean, heck, he resuscitated and saved someone, and they later made a Rescue 911 episode to recount that. So I would think that's a much greater achievement, but a monumental achievement nonetheless. Up until about 5 or 6 years ago, as far as I was concerned, there was only one Coach Cass in Rockland County. And I am sure that at least half of the people in here or more, also there's only one Coach Cass in Rockland County. I would be talking about John Castellano, and everybody else would be talking about Joe Cassarella. And it's unfortunate for everyone that Joe's not the guy, Cassarella, up here doing this, because he'd have all of us rolling around laughing. We might not get out of here until like 10 p.m., but we would be laughing nonetheless. Yeah, exactly, just like that. Thank you. Why am I talking about that? Because there is only one Coach Pez. Only one Coach Pez. Maybe it's questionable if there's more than one Coach Cass, but Alan Pesner, Coach Pez, is the inaugural recipient of the William Gibby Sweet Coaches Award.
And I'd like to welcome everybody and thank everyone for being here and supporting the Rockland County Sports Hall of Fame. I'd like to congratulate the 53rd class for the Rockland County Sports Hall of Fame of all the inductees. I'm a Spring Valley graduate. Pierre. Pierre, the football team that you played on as a midget, not you being a midget, but the midget football team as the league before it was Pop Warner, was established in the late 50s and into the 60s and used to be called the Spring Valley Pony Express. That was me and all of the guys from Spring Valley. We played with leather helmets, newspaper shoulder pads, until our parents saw us. And then they got together and formed the football league, the Pony Express. 1961, Pierre, we went to Florida by bus. We had to get contributions by going door to door and asking for money. 1961, ladies and gentlemen, we had one black player, Keith Wheeler, ran like a deer. Great kid, still my friend. And his mom, my mom, the team, and the coaches on that bus. We got to Georgia for the night, and when we got off the bus, the person at the counter at the hotel came running out, said, "You can't stay here." He saw the black woman and the black player. Said, "You stay here, they'll firebomb us." So we start to get back on the bus. And all of a sudden, this car pulls up, and 4 big guys in suits get out. We didn't know it, but it was the FBI. The powers that be in Spring Valley knew that we were in trouble and had the FBI follow us all the way to Florida. We stayed there that night. Teammates, you heard it earlier. Teammates. Keith couldn't get off the bench in the locker room for fear of going to the field. The people in St. Petersburg, Florida made arrangements that he could have guests come, but they had to sit on the other side. They had a black band in his honor. We had a vote before we went to Florida because they said we couldn't come with the black player. A unanimous vote says we don't go without him. At halftime, we were invited to go to California. Think of that. we had to go door to door to get a bus to Florida. They want us to go to California to play for the national championship, halftime. Of course, we ended up winning the game in St. Petersburg. And we find out, as we stayed with the families down there, that there wasn't one kid from the South on that team. They all came from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New York. There was no Southern grown-up kids that grew up in the South. It was quite an experience, and yeah, so that football team that you went with, I know all about it. It was over 50 years ago that my dad, Leon Pesner, who was inducted in 2005, and Suffrag's Joe Grasso, who was inducted in 2003, were meeting and organizing and establishing the Rockland County Sports Hall of Fame. What a terrific idea, and done with the unselfish appreciation to recognize the achievements of Rockland County's outstanding athletes, coaches, and supporters. So here we are for the 53rd induction ceremony. I am humbled and excited to have been selected, and as the first recipient of the Gibby Sweet Coaches Award. I knew Gibby, and he was a great guy. I had a wonderful journey. I too had a wonderful, caring, and supportive parents, Leon and Doris Pesner, an older brother, and a younger sister who always kept you honest and focused. Family taught me lessons that remain with me today also. For example, do it because it's the right thing to do. That's a tough one. Think about it. Do it because it's the right thing to do. And always honest fairness. That was my mom. I also have my own supportive family here. I have my wife of 46 years, Karen. Two sons, Michael and his wife Sarah, and our grandson Leo. And our other son Brian and his wife Shay, they're in Florida, they could not be here. Karen's family has also been supportive over those 46 years in my career. Tonight, my sister-in-law Mary is here representing them. I was also fortunate to have peer and administrative support. My biggest supporter was Paul Lenko. You heard his name earlier, with Nyack football. Paul was a super supporter of me in girls athletics, with his main concern always the interest of the athletes. I've been extremely fortunate to have great assistant coaches, mostly former players, and awesome kids in both field hockey and lacrosse. They were hardworking, dedicated, and willing to learn the attitudes it takes to win. Together, we were successful. Today, there are field hockey and lacrosse teams all throughout the United States that are being coached by former players, and daughters of former players being recruited and receiving scholarships. Following my being president of the Rockland County Field Hockey Coaches Association, president of the Girls Lacrosse Coaches Association, section chairperson for girls lacrosse, Paul encouraged me to become the New York State Girls Lacrosse Coordinator. So I did. It was a long process of getting it organized on the state level. We thought that Rockland and Westchester and Long Island were the only places playing lacrosse. Not true. I had to contact every high school in the New York State Public High School Athletic Association to find out if they have a girls lacrosse program and what levels. From there were meetings with the section coordinators and state officers to formulate the New York State Championship Pyramid. It took a while, and as you had heard from Joe just a few minutes ago, the attitudes about girls in sports was a hard rock to crack. And so, after a few years of building the postseason schedules, we created the New York State Championship Pyramid. It is rewarding to me to see today that there are 54 girls lacrosse programs in Section 1. When I started coaching girls lacrosse, we were the 3rd team in Rockland, Section 9, and the 9th team combined with Section 1. And now there are 54 girls lacrosse programs in Section 1. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all the different and so important support systems that I've had. Without them, I would not be here today. Thank you.